Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Medical Mindset Coach podcast. And I am your host, Star Freudenberg. So today's topic that I want to talk to you about is cholesterol. So I sort of feel in sort of my experience of this word, whenever you hear it, you think of it as a really, really bad thing. You think of, illness, you think of bad health, you think someone's going to die, someone's going to have a heart problem. And obviously, which makes sense, is that a lot of people are fear-minded about this word because there's not, no one really understands it or hasn't made much effort to look into it because it's not something that everyone has. So you just sort of hear someone, oh, has cholesterol. So, then you think, oh, shame, I feel bad. I feel sorry for them, but not really understood on how it happens. How does it arise? What is it? And what can you do to ensure to reduce it or even prevent it? It's quite a common thing that I work with my patients is saying that, don't just come when you're sick, also come when you're healthy, because then you can ensure that you have something called maintenance that can really prevent something bad from happening. And cholesterol might be one of these things. So just diving into it. So when you think of cholesterol, you probably think of bad or high cholesterol, but I'm not sure if many people actually know, but there's also a good type of cholesterol within our body that we need actually to keep us at an optimum level, right? So cholesterol plays quite an important role in many of the body's processes. However, it's important that the cholesterol levels don't go out of balance. So a really common example that because I'm sort of an example and an analogy visualization type of personality person. And, I just sort of want you to visualize, okay, that, if the body is at war, not a very good thing to say, but, we have armies. We have a good army, we have a bad army. And the idea is we just want to keep everyone in balance so we can create harmony within our organism. And the idea then is you want to keep the good as high as possible. Obviously, if you want to get very technical, to keep it within a certain range. And therefore the same is applicable to the bad cholesterol, where you want to go, okay, I want to keep this as low as possible within the correct range. That can establish, let's call it a state of homeostasis, a state of balance, that cannot put you at risk of conditions that, are a typical outcome when you have high cholesterol, such as stroke or heart disease. So when you actually get tested to see what your cholesterol levels or ranges are at, you will see that there's specific terminology used, which again, to the layman, might not really make sense. So you'll see things such as HDL, LDL, VLDL, non-HDL, triglycerides, and you just think like, which is the wrong one, which is the bad one, because of course, when you get tested, you get stressed because you obviously want to have the best results as possible. But sometimes, unfortunately, it will not be the case because due to lifestyle, due to habits, even due to genetics, it can, be inherited. So, then you start to think, okay, well, how will I know to suss this out? And even though you'll probably say, oh, well, the doctor will tell me, I really, really like to emphasize the importance of actually being aware and in a place of understanding of your own results, because often doctors can say things that are, oh, don't worry, it's fine, this is okay, but you might be on the high end of the range. It might be cause for concern. And again, when people come to me, they'll say, and it's very often, hence why they'll come to alternative medicine rather than just allopathic, typical Western traditional medicine. It's because there was a lack of empathy, a lack of understanding, a lack of explanation, a lack of direction that was, not given. So, I think one of the things that I try to emphasize on is trying to empower the patient, try to help you understand about you, what's going wrong, because I think only when you understand, then you know how to adjust or correct, even though you may look for that guidance, you may look for that support, you may look for those tools, but at least you have a path, a form of direction, a form of understanding. So this is, again, one of the reasons of why I'm doing this podcast, because I want to really get what I would perceive as basic knowledge out there, which is not basic knowledge that everyone has. If I can sort of try and create this to be a sort of a standard of a norm to understand your physical body better, because we do age, we do make incorrect decisions, we can be irresponsible. I mean, we've all been young once, and even if we're not young, we still do the things anyway, but it's just trying to be accountable, more responsible for our actions. And again, if you make bad decisions, then at least you have the tools on how to manage it after or correct it, etc. Okay, so when we go into sort of the terminology that you'll see when you get a result back in terms of cholesterol, you'll see words. So you're going to see words such as HDL, LDL, VLDL, non-HDL. And again, this is going to come across like, oh, what does this mean? What is this vernacular? What is this terminology? Which one's a good one? Which is the bad one? What is right? What is wrong, right? So I'll break that down for you. So HDL stands for high density lipoprotein. And this is the good kind of cholesterol, right? So the best way I remember it is when you see the H first, you go, that's high. I need that one to be as high as possible. Then you'll get the bad types of cholesterol, which in this case, there will be 3, which is LDL, VLDL, and non-HDL. So LDL just stands for low density lipoprotein. VLDL means very low density lipoprotein, and non-HDL means so not high density lipoprotein. So then you'll get this alongside with something called triglycerides, and these are all things that you want to keep in check. So the typical question is, well, how do I do that? How do I test that? Well, I offer a blood test in my clinic that can either be sent directly to your house, or you can come do the blood test in the clinic. That will get sent to a laboratory, and then they will then perform the check. You can also go to your GP, but sometimes the GP will only do these tests if they think it's valid. And sometimes you may not fall under that category of being valid. So, the test is not expensive anyway if you go privately. So it's just sort of a decision you need to make. I would always probably say try go to your GP first if it doesn't go through, because that would be free. Then you can come do it privately, right? But, all people have different concerns or different experiences or different things that are happening at different ages, and they just want to sort of get, or rule out something or check something, etc. All right. Even in this test that I do, it also calculates the total cholesterol to your HDL ratio and your triglycerides to your HDL ratio, which are both very useful information, which is very useful information for a private practitioner or a GP to use in determining your risk of heart problems or stroke. And obviously, sort of the main aim of cholesterol is, which I've mentioned probably a couple of times already, is about focusing on lowering your bad cholesterol, your triglycerides, and then increasing your good HDL cholesterol to an optimum level. So the next question, people go, well, what is cholesterol? Like, actually, what is cholesterol? We know about it, but we don't know what it is. And in literally one sentence, cholesterol is simply a fatty substance that is found in your blood, and therefore can maybe block the flow of your blood and maybe build up and get stuck, and therefore that can cause, like I say, some serious health problems that might lead to stroke or heart disease, or even to a point that you may die, right? So it's kind of, it's not a friendly subject to talk about, I suppose, but a very realistic one, especially in today's world, because a lot of the behaviors, the habits, the lifestyle that we are leading is just putting us at risk of high cholesterol. And it's very strange to see, initially when I started working, doing cholesterol tests with people, you obviously have a prejudgment that gets formed based on when you see someone and you think, oh, they look healthy, they look fine. And then these turned out to be the people that are actually with high cholesterol, or, basically taking you by surprise. And that just puts you back into your place of saying, you can't assume anything because anyone can be at risk, right? But again, cholesterol can be a fatty substance, or also commonly termed as a waxy substance found in your blood, and your body needs the cholesterol to build healthy cells. But if you have high levels of cholesterol, this can increase your risk of heart disease, right? And then with the high cholesterol, you can develop fatty deposits in your blood vessels. The thing is, or what I say the problem is that high cholesterol does not cause symptoms. So you can only really find out if you have it or have the levels are too high from a blood test. But you can lower your cholesterol with very easy, simple lifestyle changes, such as eating more healthily, getting more exercise. However, if you do go down the allopathic route or the Western medical science route, there is some prescription medication that can be prescribed, which the common one you'll know is statins. As statins can reduce the amount of cholesterol your body makes, and the protocol is that you take a tablet once a day, and according to Western science, you usually need to take them for the rest of your life. Right, other medicines that maybe NHS or GPs would prescribe that may be used if statins does not work, or if you do not want to take statins. These include other tablets such as ezetimibe, fibrates, bile acid sequestrants, also called resins, and bempedoic acid, or you can have injections such as alirocumab and evolocumab. Pronunciation differs, I think, with everyone. But that's, of course, if you're going to opt for choosing medicine to help lower your cholesterol. So you might need medicine. For example, if your cholesterol level has not gone down after you have actually tried to alter your diet, your lifestyle, and if you're really at high risk of having a stroke or a heart attack, but then would be the thing that I say, ask your doctor about the medicines that, you may take or opt for to be able to assist you if you haven't been able to do it naturally. Of course, I will say this because I work in the alternative sense and I try to do or help people to achieve a better, healthier lifestyle / mindset through doing things naturally. And I always think rather start with the easier steps, and then really at the end of it, if it does not work, then yes, opt for the allopathic route. I'm not adverse to it or against it, and I think that obviously Western medicine has its place in society, but I also think that there are easier things to do first, and we sort of want to work with those options and then work our way up, that if it's okay, you can't manage this, then let's go. And a very common example would be about, when women hit menopause and they need HRT. You might get bioidentical HRT, but, to not maybe take something at all, it could leave you in a worse off condition. And rather than saying like, oh, I won't take this because it's allopathic route, But there are lots of alternatives out there. It's just, the point is, everything in mainstream at this point in time is all allopathic. And in a sense, we are brainwashed with it. And we think that is the first point of call. Go to your GP, get a prescription, and then you're sorted. But what people do not maybe have sort of the whole picture as of yet is that there are a lot of easier things to do, a lot less cost, a lot more cost effective to implement into your life. But most importantly, these sort of suggestions that are being suggested are simple, they're obvious, but they also don't create another problem. What's the common issue is that as soon as you start taking some form of prescription medication, there's so many different side effects, and prescription medication is hard on the liver. So then you start then going, okay, I've started to manage problem X, but now I've got problem Y as a result of problem X. Then you have to take something else, and you'll find near the end of your life that you're probably, most people complain when they come to me like, I'm taking 8 to 12 tablets a day. I mean, that's so much. That's so hard on the body. And it sort of becomes compulsory to take these things, whether it's out of fear or whether you really, really have to. And then the next problem is that you become dependent, and then you can't miss a day of not taking something because now maybe your body's maybe addicted to it. And then when is your body ever going to have a rest? You see, this is the tricky problem. I always think to myself, the body is working 24/7. We may literally sleep, but the body's still doing its thing, in involuntary way, fixing, repairing, rebuilding, stimulating, moving, so this poor body. And I think if you're someone who's constantly taking medication and not giving your body a rest, I don't really think that's okay. But, some people think that that is their only option. And I think with that mindset, yes, that is true. But sort of, again, my point of view is to just try and help you get a whole picture, rather give you choice to make the decision you want than really only think that you have one choice. And I think that's really important. Again, the essence, coming back to this theme that I'm trying to, in a sense, leave my legacy with, is empowerment. You have the right to choose. Okay. So on that long-winded story or speech, I've been able to help so many people who have high cholesterol naturally. And, it's just being open-minded to saying yes. Everyone that I've worked with, there will be fundamental similarities in what protocols and treatments I'll do, what I'll prescribe in terms of natural healthy supplements, sort of lifestyle changes, etc. But, does one really powerful treatment that does come down to, which I'll start to explain in another episode, is colonic hydrotherapy. What is colonic hydrotherapy? It is a medical procedure where I will insert tubing up the rectum, and I will use high quality filtered water, and we use approximately about 125 liters to really flush out the large intestine, or also known as the colon, which really acts as the breeding ground of disease for the whole body, because that's where a lot of fecal matter gets stuck, trapped, mucus, chemical reactions, maybe from food sensitivities that come out. And through that cleansing process, and it's really not painful at all. There's a lot of stigma behind it, a lot of fear about talking about it, because, society has painted that we can't all talk about something that we all do every day, or, mostly everyone. Unfortunately, some people who don't go every day, but they should, just due to various reasons, which I try to help address. But when we do this procedure, so many knock-on benefits happen with it. And one of them is circulation, cleaning the blood, declotting the arteries, if you will, declogging the arteries and the veins, and helping stimulate, which is the vagus nerve, and that will help stimulate circulation in the body, and also giving hydration. Chronic dehydration is what everyone is suffering from, and the blood gets thick because we don't have enough water, and it's this compound effect that we're suffering with, that, you maybe had too many coffees, you had too much stress, you've drank too much alcohol, you've done too many drugs, you're taking too much prescription medication, right? And just the sort of, I would say, initial detox phase, and then re-stimulating the body back to how it should be. And then you can start doing all the day-to-day actions, which I'll explain to you now, to help you if you are at risk of cholesterol. But again, colonic's not limited to cholesterol. It helps with so many things. I really take pride in being able to help people, that suffering from disease, illness, going to get organs cut out, down to, in a sense, the superficial things about weight loss, cellulite, skin, hydration. It's a really a incredible treatment using something so natural that we all need, that really gives so many benefits and knock on results that people didn't even know that they could benefit from. And really, again, an opportunity of getting your life back on track, and giving you the years, the critical years back, that you don't have to be suffering or complaining. You can actually just be enjoying. And that's what I thrive to do. And I'm so proud and passionate about it, because it's incredible how much, I'm going to call it ancient technology, there is out there, but a lot of people don't know about it. And when they eventually come to it, the common thing is people say, oh, I really wish I knew this sooner. I really wish I came here sooner. So anyway, going back to cholesterol. So if I talk about this subject, when you might be at risk of high or bad cholesterol and triglycerides, or you're equally low on good cholesterol. So we need to decrease the bad, increase the good. What is the reasons, right? So you might be at risk of this if you are eating an unhealthy diet containing too many foods that are high in cholesterol and saturated fats. So saturated fats are the bad fats. So I think we all kind of know when we're eating something, we go, I know this is not good for me, but you do it anyway. If you smoke, if you're overweight, if you have diabetes or pre-diabetes, and if you might think you may be susceptible to that, there's another blood test that I can offer and do and help you really to determine whether you have it, what type you have, or that you might be a pre-diabetic, or actually no, completely rule it out, you're not diabetic at all. If you drink too much alcohol, have a genetic disorder such as a family of hypercholesterolemia, or you do not exercise. And I think at some point in our life, all of us are guilty maybe of all of them, some of them, but what have you sort of carried through, in terms of your bad habits as you have aged? So to reduce your bad cholesterol and your triglyceride levels, you must eat less of the following foods which are high in cholesterol and saturated fats. So this is a good one to keep an eye out or ear out, if you will. Cheap sausages, fatty and cured meats, pastries such as pies, quiches, sausage rolls, and which I would say my favorite croissants, butter, ghee, lard, cream, ice cream, creme fraiche, sour cream, cheese, cakes, biscuits, milkshakes, foods that contain coconut or palm oil. And again, this will tie back to another episode that I'm about to launch about reading your food labels, really seeing what's inside, because I can tell you now, it's not all that it reads, right? It's not all that it reads. A tip, there are some foods which are low in saturated fat, but high in cholesterol. And these include eggs, shellfish, liver. And it's much more important to cut down on foods which contain saturated fats, which are the ones I mentioned earlier, rather than these foods, such as eggs, shellfish, liver. So you want to try replace your saturated fats with unsaturated fats, which are better for your heart. And when I think of that, I'm like, avocado is like the first thing that comes to my mind. So then you think, okay, I got to avoid these. So then what can I do, right? What should I do? So it's also recommended that you avoid or reduce your intake of fast food, fried foods. You must eat high fiber foods. What is that? Fruits, vegetables, whole grains. Eat lean sources of protein, for example, chicken, fish, legumes. Don't have the skin of the chicken, which is obviously delicious and when you come straight out the oven. But try cut off, if you even, like, for example, have a steak or something, cut off the fats. Don't eat that. Okay, avoid or reduce your intake of sugary and refined foods, avoiding sugary foods, fizzy drinks. What can you do? Bake, steam, grill, boil foods instead of frying them. Use a small amount of healthy oil or fat spread made from vegetables or seeds. Avoid butter or other animal fats. An example that's just popping up in my mind now is thinking like, okay, if you're going to roast potatoes in the oven, don't use like massive amount of ghee or lard, rather use like olive oil, and try to be more conscientious about the quantity that you use, because every little bit really, really counts. Eat foods rich in unsaturated fats. So for example, oily fish, nuts, olive oil, replacing them with foods with more unsaturated fats that can actually help improve your cholesterol levels. So go for healthy spreads, oily fish, nuts, seeds, and cooking and salad oils. Exercise regularly. I know that sounds so much easier, but sort of the protocol that I recommend is you should be exercising at least 3 times a week. If you can do it every day, that would be better. And it doesn't need to be high intensity. It can be walking, having a stroll, going in the park, just really ideally getting your body moving, maybe a 5 minutes in yoga in the morning. But at least once a week, you want to have something that's really challenging your heart, stimulating you in a sense. But little bit by little bit, rather, than push yourself and then overdo it from one extreme to the next. Just rather gradually builds, because slowly, slow and steady wins the race, right? If you're overweight, then try and lose weight until you can reach an optimum BMI. So body mass index, this is just something that you can do to calculate to see, which is just sort of a measurement tool that's been created sort of in the health world to say sort of like, where is your profile at? Are you considered at a healthy weight, overweight, obese, etc.? But if you want to know more about that, I'll be launching a section on nutrition in a couple of episodes' time. This is the next tricky one. Limit your alcohol intake. I know, not the nice one to hear, but it is a very, very high sugary, let's call it substance, that somehow we seem to just put back, and we can do 5, 6, 7 drinks, which is, I think, quite the common thing if you go out. But we don't appreciate how much negativity or negative impact it has on our body. And as a result, that's why people do it. And that's why a lot of people are susceptible to high cholesterol, because, it seems that the environments with work at present, you go out, you have a dinner, or you have to entertain clients, or, work's been stressful. You just go out to have a drink at the pub, with your friends after work or your colleagues. And then that brings its own kind of stress, because you don't realize, every drink that you're putting in, what that's doing in your body. And then the last tip I'll sort of say is, reduce/quit smoking. I know, again, not easy, but again, if you're doing, I don't know, for example, 10 cigarettes a day, if you cut it down to 8, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1, gradually, that's adding years onto your life that, you again can't really appreciate, but sort of just a trust and a faith that you should know it's doing good. So again, another tip, if you have raised triglycerides, it's particularly important to maintain a healthy body weight, which, of course, includes regular exercise and a loss of excess weight that can result in a significant a lowering of your triglyceride levels, right? So that's all the bad cholesterol, if you will. Then just popping over into to increase your good cholesterol, your HDL, your high density lipoprotein. What can you do, right? Include in your diet oils and spreads that are made from flaxseed, soybean, sunflower, olive, rapeseed, and exclude those that have been made with hydrogenated or trans fats. Nuts such as walnuts, almonds, cashews, hazelnuts, peanuts, pecans, pistachios, good. But please bear in mind, again, to have maybe an allergy test to make sure that you don't have a nut allergy, because that would just do completely the opposite effect. Eat foods that are fortified with omega-3s, seeds such as flax seeds, linseeds, and hemp. Oily fish such as herring, pilchard, sardines, mackerel, salmon, trout, fresh tuna. These are really, really good to incorporate into your diet to help boost your good cholesterol. So those were my notes, but then just going over to the NHS platform, their recommendations, I'm just going to read you, and it's obviously going to be a repeat mainly of what I've said, but just good to get a dual perspective, sort of what is Western medicine saying versus what is alternative medicine practitioners saying. So they're saying, eat less fatty food. To reduce your cholesterol, try to cut down on fatty food, especially food that contains a type of fat called saturated fat. You can still have some foods that contain a healthier type of fat called unsaturated fat. Check labels on food to see what type of fat it has in it. So try to eat more oily fish like mackerel, salmon, brown rice, bread, pasta, nuts and seeds, fruit and vegetables. What I would say to that is, yeah, that's good, but just bear in mind you don't have any intolerances or allergies / food sensitivities to this. Then they'll say try to eat less of meat pies, sausages, fatty meat, butter, lard, ghee, cream, hard cheese, like cheddar, cakes, biscuits, foods that contain coconut or palm oil. Exercise more. Aim to do it at least 150 minutes or 2.5 hours of exercise a week. Some good things to try when starting out include walking. Try to walk fast enough so your heart starts beating faster. Swimming, cycling. Try a few different types of exercises until you find something you like doing. Super key, and make sure you enjoy what you're doing, because you're more likely to keep doing it if you enjoy it. Stop smoking. Smoking can raise your cholesterol and make you more likely to have a serious problems such like heart attacks, strokes, even cancer. If you want to stop smoking, you can get help and support from your GP, or there is an NHS stop smoking service where you can get the number, or the helpline is 0300 123 1044, where you can get useful tips and advice about ways to stop cravings. And the last point is cut down on alcohol. Try to avoid drinking more than 14 units of alcohol a week. Have several drink-free days each week. Avoid drinking lots of alcohol in a short time, aka binge drinking. And ask your GP for help and advice if you are struggling to cut down. How to get tested. Again, I'm going to repeat myself saying that high cholesterol does not cause symptoms. So you can only really find out if you have high cholesterol from a blood test. Again, your GP might suggest having a test if they think your cholesterol could be high. And this would, again, vary because of age, weight, another condition you might have, such as high blood pressure or diabetes, because they're usually sort of linked to each other. Right, but you can ask your GP surgery for a cholesterol test if you've not had a test before and you're over 40 or overweight, can be all and, yeah, or you have high cholesterol or heart problems that actually run in the family, because that would result you in being more likely to be at risk of having high cholesterol, right? Of course, as always, bear in mind, just subject to everything with coronavirus, if you feel unwell, etc., don't obviously go to the GP or, get the test done privately. You can even do it at home, right? So there are two ways that a cholesterol test can be performed. One would be through phlebotomy or venipuncture. So that means actually taking blood from your arm, like you'd see in a blood donation kind of thing. Which just basically means taken from your arm with a needle. This will be sent to a lab to check your cholesterol level, and you can get the result in a few days. You might be asked not to eat anything for up to 12 hours before the test, but this is not always needed. Or you can do the easier way, and the way I like to do, even though I can do both, is a finger prick test. This can be done again at the convenience of at your own home, or you can come into the clinic and do it. And this is done usually, again, bearing in mind if you don't have, if you're exhibiting symptoms or you really just want to know or / rule it out, a finger prick test. And this is a checkup that can help, detect or spot early signs of problems like heart disease or diabetes. And again, how it works is just you simply prick your finger, drop of blood. What we'll need to do is drip it into sort of a small vial, and then this gets sent to a lab, and then they'll perform the test. Again, usually takes about a week to, get results. They get sent to me, and then I'll help you to obviously unpack the results and what it actually means. For the test, I do ask people to fast for a minimum of 6 hours, just so you know, so that nothing gets sort of peaked or spiked erroneously, or sort of not really as the true state of your body, just due to different things. Maybe you've had things that have spiked your sugar levels, or maybe not enough water, etc. in your body. Right, so obviously what happens next? If you have high cholesterol, of course, a doctor, nurse, or a medical practitioner like myself will talk to you about it and how you can lower it, but I've already given you that information in advance. And I said, it will be either changing a diet, performing a couple of different therapies, or if you really want to, and it's your choice to, you can obviously root for taking medicine. So again, this will work out at lowering your risk of heart attack, stroke for the next 10 years. And this can be assessed using the information at hand, being your cholesterol levels, your blood pressure, your height and your weight, your age, your sex, and your ethnicity. So lowering your cholesterol can help you lower your risk of having heart attack or stroke. And then on that last point about your cholesterol test, I just want to talk you again what sort of the numbers or the threshold should be, or the range should be, right? And again, just to repeat myself, okay, a cholesterol test will be able to measure your total cholesterol, right? So the overall amount of cholesterol in your blood, including both good and bad cholesterol. It will test good cholesterol, which is HDL, which this makes you less likely to have heart problems or stroke. Then you have bad cholesterol, so LDL or non-HDL. This can make you more likely to have heart problems or a stroke. And then your triglycerides, which is the fatty substance similar to bad cholesterol. So when you get your result, you may be just told about your total cholesterol, usually. But then with the results that I offer, you'll be able to get broken down or separate results between your good, your bad, the triglycerides, and then obviously a ratio between the two, or a couple of ratios to help you analyze where you're at in your profile. So to know where your level should be, this is a guide that I'm going to give you. And these are sort of the levels you should aim for. But, they might be slightly different, slightly lower, slightly higher. But just the overall total cholesterol, in your head, you want it to be 5 or less. You don't want to be at 5 ideally, but 5 or less or below, right? Good cholesterol, HDL, you want it to be 1 or above. LDL, bad cholesterol, you want it to be 3 or below. Non-HDL, bad cholesterol, you want it to be 4 or below. And triglycerides, you want it to be in the range of 2.3 or below. Whew. So anyway, that is all you need to know about cholesterol. So again, I've repeated myself quite a few times, so really hoping with the aim that it's going to start sort of going in and absorbing and digesting in your mind space. And if you feel that you may be at risk, or maybe something I've said that you go, I actually do that a lot, or I eat this a lot, or I know I'm not drinking enough water, or I'm not exercising enough, or I drink too much alcohol, or I'm smoking a lot, or it might be running in my family, and you think, I think I might need to go for a test. Go to your GP first if you can, and if worst case scenario doesn't work out, you can always come, for example, to see me privately if of course, I'm within the right area for you. But like I said, these are tests that can be sent to your house directly. And of course, many people don't want to either see their blood or go through the procedure themselves. Then they can come straight into the clinic to do it. It's a simple, quick test, takes a couple of minutes. And then we get your results ideally within the week, and then we can sort of track where you are and then see what lifestyle changes need to be made or can do, or what we can do to help you to really get your health, your vitality back on track. Okay, so I'm going to mark that as a wrap up for today's episode. And if you have any questions, always please know that you can contact me either directly through email or website, or on the website, my contact number as well. And I'll be happy to answer any questions, or maybe again, if you're seeking advice for yourself or a loved one, I'll be happy to help out. So I hope you have a really, really good day or night wherever you are in the world. And I will catch up with you guys soon with the following next episode. Stay tuned. Have a good day. Bye.